Hey, hey. Welcome everybody to Elevate Us. We are elevating Black America and we are having these discussions that nobody wants to talk about. So, I'm going to before I get into my discussion, I'm going to give a trigger warning for tonight's conversation. We had a really good 4-week series, and if you didn't catch any of it, my co host was Jamie. Go back and watch what we were talking about. We were talking about the economy, we were talking about money, we were talking about finance, we were talking about all the new things that are coming into place, like the Fed Now program. If you don't know what that is, the Fed Now program is going to try to take over your Cash App. Apps like that, and then the BRICS alliance, they're trying to form against America, against the US dollar being the global currency, trying to take the position of that. And China's in the lead with this thing. And another thing that we need to be mindful of too is a lot of African countries, they're starting to turn their back on the American dollar, and that's going to have some major implications on us and how we do business and how our economy flows. So just a few things that you got to watch out for and be mindful of. So that's what we talked about for the last 4 weeks. So I have a guest coming next week, and either next week or the following week, but we're going to talk a little bit more into this financial thing, because when you think about elevating Black America, the number one thing that's coming to mind is, of course, getting our bread up, getting our money. So, that's where we really need to be, thinking as far as us as a people start learning how to come together, putting our money together. And I'm going to tell y'all something. My feelings was hurt. I seen today on Instagram, I think it's in New York. I might be wrong. Oh, I think it was like Massachusetts. But anyway, they had this black owned store, and they had 50 black owned businesses on the shelves, and everybody was in there and congratulating them. And then somebody was like, "Oh, you should bring something like that to Las Vegas." I jumped in there so fast. I was like, "Listen, I tried." I got my feelings hurt a little bit, because I was like, I literally had a black owned store in Las Vegas where you was able to come and shop other black owned businesses. So I gave it a go, but just because that one didn't work out, don't mean that we ain't gonna try it again. So anyway, that's what was I saying? Oh, that we have the guest coming next week, and either next week or the following week, but we're going to be talking about the stock market. So that's something that, I've kind of learned a little bit about, but not enough. Something that I want to learn the stock market. I want to be very well versed when it comes to stocks, because that's another way that our counterparts make their riches. So tonight I'm going to be talking about another vehicle that they use, and something that we're just not doing. We don't do it properly, and we'll get into that in a minute. But I'm going to ask the question of the day. And the question of the day is, do you know how to control your emotions? That's big, because a lot of people, a lot of us, we don't know how to control our emotions. We are very emotional people. We are emotion driven. Everything that we do is all our politics that we choose. We do it on emotion. The way that we spend our money is based on emotion. The way that we eat is based on emotion. The way that we date is based on emotion. The way that we raised our kids, so everything comes from an emotional state. And it doesn't matter how intellectual you are, when you're working strictly on emotions and not on logic, it's gonna have major implications on the way that your outcome is. So that's, you can, if you're watching right now, hold on, let me see. You can go in there and just say, "Yeah, I know how to control my emotions," or you can say, "You know what? I ain't learned that far yet." So, and it's okay, because we're a baby when you think about in terms of age with America, and you think of other kind of civilizations and countries and how long they've been around, and we're what, 400 years old, so we're still young. And then black folks, we've only had a voice for, I'm gonna say, 60 years. So 60 years is nothing. so we got some growing up to do, and that's okay. That's why we're gonna have platforms like this to kind of help us along. I'm not saying that I'm the one that's gonna help you along, but maybe I might say something that might spark your interest and might make you want to look a little bit deeper into certain things. So I'm going to give a trigger warning. I am going to be talking about death. I'm going to be talking about life and death because I just brought this is my portfolio for my life insurance. Just to show you guys I'm not just talking about it, that I am about it. I actually have two different portfolios, plus I have some other ones. So this is my life insurance, and I have whole life IULs, which are actually accounts that they build in value, and you have a living benefit and you have a death benefit on them. But before we talk about the life insurance, I do want to talk about death because growing up, we didn't have conversations about building wealth. Of course, I was born in the 69, 70s, so we never had any kind of conversations about that, about building wealth. We never had conversations really about death. And I just remember when I was a little girl, and one of the first funerals I kind of remember, my family was in, they were screaming and hollering and crying, and it just felt like just the worst scenario ever. And at that time, I said, I don't ever want to go to another funeral. That was it for me, because it was so traumatizing, and we traumatize our children about death, and at a young age when we go to funerals and we're doing the screaming and the crying, and I get it. This is a touchy subject. I understand because it's hard to lose the people that we love. But when you think about America, and not just Black America, just America in general, we don't have the same cultural ties that other countries have, where they have more respect for their dead. They have more respect for their elders. They have more respect for culture, and they have more respect for themselves. So they treat death and they treat certain things in a different manner. They actually have, when it's more celebration when in other cultures when people pass on, because they have a full understanding that our energy doesn't die, and that they're not, going down to a lake of fire. I don't want to get overly religious, and there's not some little red man down there with a pitchfork getting ready to stab you. They have a better understanding of what's happening when we pass on, when this material body that we have expires and our energy goes on and it does other things. And regardless of what belief system you follow or you believe in, you have to understand that you cannot be in this life and do all the things that we are told not to do. And I'm just saying, morally, living your life morally incorrect, and then think at the last minute you get to call out and you're saved, and now you get to go to a cloud with pearly gates and you walk down streets of gold, and everything that you just did while you were sitting here on this planet not even 24 hours ago, that it's all given, and you just walk through and all is good. It doesn't happen like that. So that's why we have a fear of death, because we're unsure, we're so uncertain, and we don't know what's going to happen to us next. And then we also know that we're living a life, we here in I say America specifically, because we live a lifestyle that really does consist of us doing things that go against morality, and we know it. We know that we're, whether you're overly consuming things, if you're gluttonous, or if you're egotistic, or if you're judgmental, if you lie every day, if you out drinking, smoking, disrespecting yourself, disrespecting your body. These are all the things that, I don't care if you're religious, if you don't believe in a God, or you don't believe in whatever it is, just naturally we know right from wrong. So you can't say that, "Oh, I don't believe in that." You better believe in something. I don't care what it is that you believe in. You better believe in something, because you have to have some type of morals while you're here. And there's laws and there's discipline. And those are the things that you have to follow. If you're following laws and if you're following discipline, then you will live a correct life. And if you're living a correct life and you're doing the things that you're doing, then you're not going to have that fear of death, because you'll start to have an understanding that when you are, living within the way that I'll just say the creator, because I know I have so many different people that listen in. When you're living in the way that the creator wants you to live, then even while we're here and we're doing all the things that we're supposed to be doing, we still have stumbles, here and there through life, things happen or whatever. But you start to get a better sense of who you are. You start to get a better, understanding, and you have that relationship with your creator to where that regardless of if you're here and you're in this body, or if you're passing on and you're in a different body, you once you develop that relationship, then you know that when you pass on, that your energy is going to be good, that you're going to be okay. And the people that know that, the ones that are unsure and afraid of death, they just know that they're not living right. And trust me, I'm not trying to say that I'm a saint, because I have lived my life and I have done some things. And even for all the things that I've done in life, I've had to literally go back and I had to retrack. You do this when you turn 50. Actually, I did it before 50. But you start thinking about life, and you start thinking about all the things you did, and you think about the people you hurt, and you think about, just the lifestyle that you were living, and you want to kind of go back and you want to start fixing things. You want to start reflecting on things, and you want to start doing things differently, so that way you prepare yourself for what's to come. You know how they say old people, they just start being nice because they know they're about to die soon? It's the same thing. They just something getting ready to happen. And if you don't have yourself right, then you have that natural fear of dying. And then, with our families, when that time comes and that person is getting ready to die, we have that same fear because we're unsure. It's twofold. It's the uncertainty, not knowing what's going to happen, because we look at lifestyles and we know how people are living, but it's also a selfishness. So when we're overly emotional when people leave us, it is a selfishness, because if we understood death and we had the respect for death the way that we should, we would know that that person's energy is going on to do something different, that there's other things that they have to do energetically. And we would know that leaving this planet is a blessing. We know that leaving this planet, depending on how you live your life, but if you live your life and you're a good spirit, you're a good Christian, you're a good Muslim, and you do everything that you were supposed to do, when you live this life, there's something better, something more that's to come. But when you don't live your life right, then you're going to keep doing this thing over and over again until you get it right. So when our people go, we are very emotional, and that's why I was talking about the emotions. We get very emotional, and we are so into the world that we can't imagine ourselves living without these people in our lives. And as parents, it is our job to raise people that are independent and self-sufficient, so they understand, okay, one day mom is not going to be here, one day dad's not going to be here, so I know that I have to continue on and continue their legacy, or continue to do whatever work that they did, so their spirit lives on in this world. But we're not positioning ourselves like that. We don't position ourselves to live on, because we're not doing the things, we're not doing proper things, and putting ourselves in these positions where our legacies live on properly. So um, you know, I feel like you, we grieve so hard. There's so much grief when our loved ones passed on, and even when we watch them and we see them in a dying state, even when we watch someone that's had a lifestyle of, maybe running the streets or using drugs or drinking alcohol or eating unhealthy foods, and we watch them go through the stages, and we know that pretty soon, even if the doctor tells us, hey, they only got a couple more months to live, and then even then at that time when the person leaves, it's so much trauma, the way that we handle the death, and the way that we let the emotions overcome us, and then we end up putting ourselves in this dark place that we don't know how to get out of, because we're so overcome with the grief of this person's passing. And it's normal, of course, to grieve someone's death and to miss that person in their passing, but we have to start learning how to get a hold and some control over our emotions, because it controls us too much. you walk around and you're holding on to so much emotional baggage that you become a walking trigger. And people who have no idea what you're going through, they don't, it could be just somebody, something happens, a little small altercation, and you acting on your grief and your emotions, you let situations get so far out of control because you don't have control over your emotions. And that's because nobody is sitting down and nobody is talking to us about death. No one's having these conversations with us. Nobody sat down with me and told me, hey, just so I just want you to understand that one day we are all going to die. Of course, we hear this in church, but even in church, the way that I perceived it as a little girl is, okay, if I do bad, then I'm gonna go to this fiery place and this red white man gonna come and stick me with a pitchfork. You know what I mean? But nobody ever has that real conversation with you about the things that we are supposed to be doing while we are here on this planet and how we are supposed to be living our lives, so we can take great comfort in the fact that we are going to die, so that we know that when we die, if we do the things that we're supposed to do, then we go join our creator. We get to meet our creator face to face, and your energy can stay intact. But if you continue to do the things, and I know people now, they don't like to hear the low vibrational, high vibrational, because everybody thinks that has something to do with being spiritual. But all of that is, it when you understand spirituality, then you will understand that you can't even be religious without being spiritual. There's no such thing as being religious if you're not spiritual. Those things go hand in hand. So in terms of being spiritual, when we talk about low vibrational people or high vibrational people, low vibrational people are in the world. Low vibrational people are stuck in all the dark energy that's here on this planet, and they're stuck in eating the things that, oh Lord, sorry, something flew on my they're stuck in eating the things that are destroying your body, and that's destroying your mind, and that's destroying your spirit. And they're stuck in listening to, music and frequencies that destroy your energy, and that puts you at low vibrational states. So when you stay in those low vibrational states, then your energy is going to continuously circulate here until you learn how to become high vibrational. And all that means is becoming high vibrational is vibrating on a frequency of love. That's it. That's all it is when you start to love life, and when you start to love creation, and you start to love all the people here, and you start to love the plants outside, and you start to love the animals and all the little things, because you know that it's all part of one. You know that we're all part of one thing. So how can you not love everything that's here when you know that we're all a part of it? That's high vibrational. That's when you really start to appreciate who you are as a person. And that's when your energy can elevate. And when your energy can elevate, then it stays intact when you pass on. And that's when your energy can live on beyond just, breaking up and coming back here and continuing to do this earth thing over and over again. So that's really what, when you hear spiritual people talk about, I don't want to be around low vibrational people, or, I'm trying to be high vibrational, or I'm trying to elevate. It's all about love. And if your religion isn't giving you a message of love, then you're getting the wrong message. Either they're not giving it to you properly, or you're not receiving it properly. So you really got to stop and, kind of tune in and start studying the tools that are given to you, whether it's the Quran or whether it's the Bible, or, whether you're into Hermeticism or whatever it is that you use those tools and start learning to not just read the stories, not just memorize the words, not just be able to say, well, according to this chapter, verse, this, that, and the other, just being, some people, they just start memorizing all these things, and they'll start saying them even whether it applies to a situation or not. It's just because it's what they memorized, but they don't have the actual, they don't really understand the actual meaning behind what it is they're saying. So I know I'm on just this whole tangent right now, and I didn't went all the way left. But it's just the understanding of death, just understanding that everybody's gonna die. There's no way around that. We are all, as sure as you are born, it is just as sure that you will die. Some of us leave here sooner than others. Some of us, we watch them die, be based on their habits, on what they're doing. But it is just something that's going to happen. And what we need to normalize in the Black community is having these conversations, making sure that we have life insurance policies in place, because I also heard a lot that, well, I'm not going to let nobody get rich off my death. And that's so toxic. That is the worst thing that anybody can say. Because number one, if you have children, you brought them here. Your children came here, whether you planned them or you didn't plan them. And you was, if you was running around having fun in the 80s and you just, oops, a baby came, it don't matter how they got here, you brought them here. And it is your duty and your responsibility to take care of them and to make sure that they're going to be okay. And, the thing is, we only think about our present moment and maybe a year into the future. Maybe a year into the future. I talk to a lot of Black folks, and you can ask them, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And they get stumped. They just got to stop and think. And like, 5 years, I'm trying to think about how I'm gonna pay my bill tomorrow. So we don't plan for the future. But we have other people that plan hundreds of years into the future. They put processes in place to make sure that not just their grandchildren are okay, but their great grandchildren and their great great grandchildren. They want their names to live on forever throughout their families. And that's the way that we have to start thinking about this thing. So if you are right now in a place where you're thinking, well, I don't want to get life insurance because I don't want my kids fighting over the money, then number one, you didn't properly train your children to handle business, and that's shame on you. Your children should at all times know what if something happens to you, they should already be prepared to be able to stand up and to continue doing whatever work it is you're doing, or to continue your legacy on beyond your passing. So I say this because getting in, so we'll talk a little bit now about the one of the products that I have. Let's see, which one is this? So this one, it's an IUL, and F&G is my carrier. And with this one, the IUL means an indexed universal life policy. And let me see if I can see on here what this is backed by. So mine is it's backed by gold. And hold on, I gotta remember how to find my page here, and I'll let you know. So it's backed by the stock market, and I can't find it, but I know it's Barclays, gold. I have a sheet on here that tells me all the different ways that it's backed. But the way that this works is you have hold on, I think I found it. Guess I should have had all this ready before, huh? Okay, if I can't find it, I'll just tell you. So the way that it works is they use certain stocks that have performed well over years, and you'll have a stop loss on your policy, which means if in the here we go. Okay, so it's backed by the S&P, by gold, by Barclays, and by real estate. And I don't have my glasses on, so I'm looking at it with squinty eyes. So what happens is you have a stop loss. So you'll never crash. Your insurance is never going to crash. So if there is a time when we do have a dip in the stock market, the only thing that's going to happen is you're going to remain steady. But as the stock market continues to grow, then your policy continues to grow. And I actually started my policy And this one I started in 2019, and gold has gone up considerably. I mean, it's gold has gone up like crazy since the time I started. So you start to you'll see growth, and the growth that you're going to see in your policy can be anywhere from 6 to 9% interest. That's incredible, because if you put your money into a savings account at the bank, the only growth you're going to see in your savings account is maybe I think it's 0.01% growth. So say you put $50,000 in the bank, and in what, 10 years you'll have $5. That's what your growth is going to look like. So putting your money into a savings account makes absolutely no sense. The only thing that happens when you do that is you're giving the banks leverage to use your money to go put your money into other different investments. Your money doesn't sit in the bank. We know that. They're just using it to loan out to other people. And there's absolutely no growth with your money when you have your money sitting in a savings account. What you can do with this IUL is, after a certain amount of time of maturity, and I'll say maybe after a good, if you give it 10 years, you'll have some cash that you could pull off of it. But if you really let it mature, then here, let me just give you an example. So right now, at the age of, and I started my policy late. So if you start your policy early, then you'll have a better growth than what I'm looking at. But by the time I'm 80, which is in 30 years from now, I'll have over $500,000 cash that I can pull off of my policy. So, and if I would have started this thing sooner, I could have probably been 65-ish, 70, right at retirement age, pulling that off, so, but I got a late start with mine. But even at my 70, I still have like, it's $243,000 that I'll be able to pull off of this one, so this is actual cash value that you're able to borrow against your policy. And there is, they got special tax laws. And of course, they got tax laws because this wasn't intended for us. So whenever it's not intended for us, there's special laws that help you get around taxes. So you don't pay taxes on it because you're borrowing from your account. And you also still have your death benefit. So you'll have your living benefit, and this doesn't affect your death benefit. So like I said, you're able to pull the money off, and you still have all of your death benefit. So say I wait until I'm 90, and I think right about 90 I'll have $1 million. So say I have $1 million that I pull off, then I say I pass away, then my kids get $1 million. So that's $2 million that they'll be able to get, and that's just off of this one policy. The other one is a smaller policy, but it's something. Something is better than nothing. Your family should not have to grieve 2 times at your death. First they're grieving because of the loss that you're gone, and now they're grieving because they have to figure out how to bury you. They have to figure out where to get the finances, how to get the church, how to get coffins, how to feed people when they come into town, how to do all these different things. Then you got to take off work to handle all this stuff, and that's a burden. You should never leave your family with such a heavy burden. It's selfish, and I'm just going to say it straight up. It's selfish of you to leave your family in that type of position. One thing I'm going to say about my father, he prepared, everything was prepared before he passed on. Bills were paid, policies were put in place, funerals were covered, so these are the things we didn't have to worry about, having, selling plates and having a GoFundMe. Shame on you if you got to have your family out standing on a street corner begging for money or doing a GoFundMe to bury you because you failed to put proper things in place to make sure that your family was okay in the event of your passing. And then even people that say, well, I can't afford a life insurance policy. You can't, but you can afford a new purse. You can afford a wig. You can afford them lashes. You can afford all these things that's not going to help you, or you can afford them Jordans. You can afford it. If you can afford Starbucks every day, you can afford a life insurance policy. So it's just all about priority. It's all about discipline and knowing what's important. What is important to you? People say, well, I'm not going to be here, so I'm not even going to be able to enjoy it. That's selfish because your family's going to still be here. You leaving this, like I said, you leaving this burden on them. And the only thing you're going to get from that is they're going to be like, man, I can't believe that they left and didn't leave us no life insurance policy. And now we got to sit up here and come out of our pocket to bury him. And, you're not setting your family up for nothing but failure. It's a setup for failure. And I don't want my family to fail. I love my kids. I love my grandbabies. I love my great grandbabies that I haven't even met yet. I love all of them. And I'm making sure that when I leave here, that everybody is set up and everybody is going to be okay. And my goal, ultimate goal, is to have, if I can start increasing this thing up and making sure that I can leave $1 million per person, per child. So that's my goal. And that's the kind of goals that we need to have. We need to have goals that's going to include us having portfolios, having real estate, having hard assets, having gold, having stocks, having life insurance policies. So that way, when we leave here, our people can carry on. They can talk about, when they look at my picture, they're going to be like, man, Grandma Alina, she really left us nice. She made sure that we was good. We got this nice big house because of her. We got these businesses started because of her. That's what I want my kids saying about me. I want my kids sitting around talking about she did us dirty. she she left us here with all this debt. Now we got to figure out what to do with all this stuff. you know, I don't want them. I don't want them thinking like that. I want them to be. I want them to be comfortable. I want them to be relaxed when I die. I want them to be okay with my death. I don't even want them to spend money on a funeral. I want you to cremate me and go to the Bahamas and take the ashes and go spread me amongst the Bahamas. And don't worry about spending money on a funeral. How that's the dumbest thing. I'm sorry, no disrespect, but that just makes no sense to me for you to die and have a $20,000-$30,000 funeral. If America ain't crazy, I don't know what is. They gonna give you the poison to kill you. You take the poison. They first of all they make you pay for the poison because the food is expensive, the medications are expensive. They make you pay for all the poison to kill you, and then on the way out the door, they gonna grab another $20,000-$30,000 out of you. Stop giving these people money like that. Let's be more smart. If your family, I don't care. They shouldn't even have to come up with $10,000 for the cheapest funeral to bury you. Even $10,000 is ridiculous. So we need to start being more smart about the way that we do things. Stop being emotionally attached to things like having a big funeral. Well, I want doves to fly at my funeral, and I want a horse and buggy to carry me at my funeral. That's ridiculous. Yes. Yes, people be wanting all that. They be I want to make sure you got 10 white horses and I want to make sure my casket got gold on it and satin laced. For what? Release 20 white doves at my funeral. Man, get out of here. If you don't stop it, you better take that money and divvy that out to your kids and tell them to go buy a house with that money. Stop being silly. We got to be some of the silliest people. I love us. Don't get me wrong. I love my folks, but we do some of the silliest. And listen, I'm trying my hardest not to cuss because it didn't try to come out a couple times, but we do some of the silliest stuff I didn't ever seen. Because we didn't got into this man's world and we taking on their lifestyle and we doing the things that they do. They don't even do this stuff, to be honest with you. You tell me what white funeral you go to and they got somebody in a clear casket. I seen it. I seen somebody in a clear casket. Yes. And they had and they had the horses and they had satin and the dude, they had him with a bunch of gold when he was in the casket and all this stuff. Man, listen. Yeah. First of all, he ain't gonna know if you take the gold or not. So I'm not talking about being disrespectful to the dead, but ain't no way I'm burying nobody with a bunch of gold. That's dumb. That's just the dumbest thing ever. What? Go ahead, say it. You can say it. I'm listening. I'm all ears. Which one? Oh, when I die, I put my. Wait, that's Drake and when I die, I put. Wait, wait. I know what you're saying. Bury me with my gold, something. Yeah, Barry Moore. That's ignorant. That's just straight ignorant. And we just got to stop doing ignorant stuff. And we got to stop being ignorant and emotional when it comes to death. And we need to be more smart. You know, if you have any kind of assets, anything that breaks down into hard cash or anything that breaks into, something sustainable, leave that to your kids. Leave that to your family. If you don't trust your kids, well, again, I say shame on you because you should have made people that you could trust. But if that be the case, you pick the smartest one of the group. You pick the smartest one, the one that's got the most sense, and you have them be the benefactor of your estate and let them, the beneficiary, and let them be the one to execute how everything goes. Because if you got kids and you don't have at least one that you can trust, then I don't even know what to say. You got to have at least one kid that you could put in charge of everything. And if that's the case, then start today. Start today. Start working on having family meetings. Pull your kids together. Everybody come sit down. Do old school. Go do a Sunday dinner. Everybody sit down at the dinner table on a Sunday. Everybody put your phones at the front door. Let's sit down. We finna talk business. This is the time. It is the time for us right now to start talking business with our family, start talking business to our children. I've been talking business to my son since he was, what, 13, 14 years old. And that's only because I saw that he had a real great interest in money. So at this point, he knows just as well as my daughters, he's 17, how to carry out any of my wishes. He knows exactly how to find these policies. He knows the 800 numbers on here to call. He has all this information. So you have to start sitting down with your kids at a young age and you have to start giving them this information and giving them these tools so they can understand, shoot, he knows how to get into all my bank accounts. He knows, and I trust him. I know that he will never go into my bank account and transfer no money out. But he knows my PIN numbers. He knows how to get into my online banking. So if anything ever happens to me, he could just go straight into the account and put his name on the account. And we don't even have to worry about, put anything going into probate or, going into, anything like that. Also we'll talk about trust and we'll do that another time because I know I'm getting short here on my time. But there's ways that you put all of this in place so you don't have to worry about anybody putting their hands into anything that you own. This stuff can transfer straight over to your family and you have no worries. But start having these conversations with your family. Start gathering up your kids. I don't care if they are 13 years old. You start having these conversations with them. You start talking to them about being financially responsible and telling them, and teaching them about money, teaching them how money works. So if anybody is interested in talking to me about life insurance, and I'll be 100% honest with you, I've been licensed for 3 years and I do know this stuff pretty good, but I have mentors that are walking me through and they have better information than I do and they can answer questions better. But I can get you in the right, I can sell policies, but I want to make sure that we are putting these policies in place the proper way. So if you are interested in getting a life insurance policy, DM me. You can even call me. What's my number? 725-666-9642. And we could talk about how to secure you, secure your family, get you guys set up. And also, like I said, I'm gonna have somebody in here talking about the stock market in the coming weeks. So let's start getting ourselves situated. Let's start setting ourselves up. Let's stop going out of here, leaving out of here with, like my daddy used to say, not having a pot to piss in and a window to throw it out of. He used to say that one all the time. We can't do that no more. Like I said, America, we are young, and we do have to give ourselves some grace. America is what, 400 years old. Black people, we've had a voice for what, 60 years. And I know we're a little bit, behind on the curve and we're trying to catch up right now. So let's play catch up. but let's put it in fast motion. We're so far behind. So it's time for us to put some stuff in place and we start doing it and start reaching out to the people that that have access to these things. Even, I'm going to give a shout out Greg DeVille. If you need a home, if you need some property, if anything, call DeVille Realty. My daughter, she is a real estate agent. So if you need to find property, if you need to buy a house, you could reach out to me. She's going to put you in a home. We got people that's in place to do these things. All you got to do is start taking the step. But some people are renting a house right now. They've been renting a house for 10 years and don't realize they could buy. And they got the income, they got the credit, and they think that all they can do is rent. But you can't. You could buy a home. They got programs right now where you can literally buy a house with a 580 credit score. So reach out to me. Let me know what we could do. Let me know what I can do to help you. If you don't know the steps, if you don't know how to sit down and talk to your family about finances, let me know. I'll come sit down. You just give me Sunday dinner, but you got to make a vegan option because, I don't eat meat and I don't eat pork, but that's fine. You just make me a vegan option. I'll come sit down Sunday dinner and we'll start talking finance with the family, okay? So anyway, that's all I got the time for. So I'm going to get out of here. And I got my niece. She just sitting over here. She didn't want to come on camera today, but I'm going to pull her on today. Yes, I busted her out a little bit. And she's so pretty. I don't know why she didn't come on today, but but we gonna get her on here because we got yeah, she's still healing. We gonna talk. We got some issues to talk about. Listen, I'm healing too. I'm healing too. So oh yeah, oh yeah, the grief subject, the death subject. I know. It's a tough one, but it's that conversation that we gotta have. So, and this is honestly on the real. If anybody is suffering with any mental health issues, if you have ever had any thoughts of suicide, if you have ever felt like you're not worthy of anything, and even this is going to touch some people, what I say here, but even if you have that voice in your head that's telling you to harm yourself, that voice that's telling you to do something harmful to yourself, and I can say this from a place of sincerity because I've been there. I have been suicidal, and there has been times when I have heard things telling me very specifically to kill myself. So if you're suffering from any of these issues, and I'll give a disclaimer, I am not a licensed therapist. I am a life coach, but if you need someone to talk to and you need someone to be a listening ear, please contact me. Please talk to me, because we should not be going through this life feeling like we're worthless, and we need to find our purpose. When you find your purpose, then you have something to live for. So again, I say if you are suffering from any type of mental issues, please contact me. Please talk to me. Please reach out to me. You can DM me. You can call me. You can email me. It's EllevateUS@gmail.com. Any kind of way that you need to reach out to me, please feel free to do so. So, all right. And on that note, I'm out and I will see you guys next Sunday. Thank you. Peace, love, blessings, all that, and happy Sunday.